Om Shruti Smriti Puranam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyoma Bhaktyapta Dehaya Lakshina Murtaye Namaha Gukara Swandakaro Vai Gukarastan Vivartakaha Andakara Nirodhitva Guru Rityabhidhiyate Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunatu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You can repeat after me. Om Namah Shri Shankarananda.
Namah Shri Shankarananda.
Guru Padam Bhujanmane.
Guru Padam Bhujanmane.
Savilasa Mahamoha.
Savilasa Mahamoha.
Graha Grasaika Karmane.
Graha Grasaika Karmane.
So one request that I have for all of you, please, is that it would be very helpful for you to go over your own notes from the previous class before you come here. Okay, so actually I will also try to revise the previous class in just a few minutes, hopefully every time, but maybe not every time, but most of the time. But it would be very helpful because we meet once a week, and so a lot has happened in between. If when we were at the ashram, we would have 2 classes a day, and so the sense of even there we would actually early in the morning we would actually go over through the notes, and Swamiji used to encourage us to do so. But certainly once you have a once a week class, there's a big gap in between, and just on the Tuesday itself, just go over your notes, your whatever you've done and so on. So that I think would be a very good habit for you to do. It kind of like it's warming up the engine before we speed up. So let me very quickly revise the first verse that we did last time. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane. So here we saw in the Tattva Bodha book, which is the more basic book, and I have copies of that which I'll distribute after the class. So there are a text or a live class for that matter, it doesn't matter, but in any kind of an organized teaching situation, there are 4 things that have to be kept in mind by the author and by the teacher in the live class. 4 things that need to be kept in mind. One is called Vishaya, the subject matter. What is the subject matter? And you cannot say subject matter is Vedanta. And it's not even sufficient to say that it is Atma Vidya. We all know that. But those are words. We're not quite sure what that means. But so the Vishaya, the subject matter, needs to be articulated in a little bit more detail so that you have a very good idea of what is it that I'm studying. And we will go over that in a minute. And so Vishaya is, so this is what is called Anubandha Chatushtaya. Anubandha Chatushtaya means the fourfold conditions under which the beginning of a class is, when the class is formulated or a text is written, fourfold. So one of them is Vishaya. The second one is Prayojana. So Prayojana means, what do I get out of it? What's the gain for me? It needs to be very clear, because to embark on a study when the end point is not clear is really foolishness. You need to know exactly what should happen at the end of the whole process. It is called prayojana. Purpose also, prayojana means purpose. So this is the third one. And the third Anubandha Chatushtaya, third element of that is Sambandha. Sambandha means what is the connection between Vishaya and Prayojana? What is the connection? So fine, I understand the subject matter. I understand what we are trying to do, but how will I go from one to the other? This is called Sambandha. And the fourth one, which will be defined in the second verse. The first three are defined in this first verse. The fourth one will be defined in the second verse. And that has to do with the requirement for knowledge. And this is called adhikari. Adhikaritvam means the requirement for knowledge. What do we mean by requirement for knowledge? Because if in fact, so this much we should assume, because one can actually ask this question. You brought in a new word here called knowledge because it is not there in the Vishaya. You haven't defined that the Vishaya is knowledge. It has not come into the Prayojana. It has not come into the Sambandha. And then you're saying that the requirement for knowledge, actually speaking, the word knowledge comes under Sambandha, which we have not done so far, but it is not true that you can jump into adhikaritvam without defining knowledge. We have to define knowledge. And knowledge here is the sambandha between Vishaya and Prayojana. So this is what is called Pratipadaka Pratipadya Sambandha. And I'll go over that today in a minute. So this is called knowledge. So now going back to the requirement for adhikaritvam. Adhikaritvam, which means eligibility, is an important element in knowledge. Really, every effort in our life requires the appropriate readiness. Like if you have to lift, I go to this gym, and it is really just remarkable how heavy a weight these guys can lift bench press. I can't even lift it like an inch because I'm not qualified. Actually, I tried to do it, and I had a tear in my shoulder. Anyway, that's a separate story. But the eligibility for lifting weights is muscles. You have to have enough muscles to be able to lift. Eligibility for knowledge is preparedness. And so we will spend a lot of time today on this preparedness. After the revision of the first verse is over, our second verse will be all about preparedness. And there's a lot to be said about it. And so we will discuss all of that. Very simply, the subtlety of the subject matter requires different preparation. You cannot expect a 12-year-old person to study quantum mechanics. Not prepared. The background hasn't been done. It has to be done in a very step-by-step way. The problem is that we feel that Vedanta, this is not, what preparation is required? Just tell me what it is, and then I will figure it out. And in fact, this was true for we all made this mistake in our lives. We all said, you know what, we are very smart people. Very smart people because we have done master's degrees, we have done this, we've got good jobs. It is nothing. You just tell me what it is, Atma, Anatma, a few things here and there. I'll figure it out. And you know what happens is that you get deceived even more because you actually have a sense of understanding where you say, yes, this I understand. I understand Upadhi, Parameshwara Upadhi, Jiva Upadhi, very clear, room, space, this, very clear, yeah, I got it. The problem is that it just remains words. And this is what is called Paroksha Jnanam. It doesn't really end up benefiting you. And I've also learned through my life, really, those were all mistakes. You have to prepare yourself. And so at this stage of my life, I'm still preparing. The message remains the same, but it's getting in much better. The benefits are becoming more palpable because of my preparation. So it's called adhikaritva. Anyway, so those are the 4 things. So the first 3, namely Vishaya, Prayojana, and Sambandha, are covered in the first verse. And we did that. And so let us revise it very quickly. Vishaya is indicated by 2 words, Shankara and Ananda. Shankara and Ananda. And Shankara has the ability to give Ananda, but it is paroksha. Shankara, even for persons that have the Shraddha towards Vedanta, people that don't have Shraddha towards Vedanta, forget it, it's okay, it doesn't matter. But I'm talking about students who feel that I am here to learn, and I think I am at the right place, this is the right thing to do, how do I gain? So there are 2 things. One is called the giver of Ananda, and I have Shraddha, that there is a thing called Ishvara. There is a person called Ishvara, not just a thing, but a person called Ishvara. And Ishvara has the ability to give me Ananda. So as a bestower of Sham, Kalyanam, Sham karoti iti Shankaraha. As the bestower of Sham, I have Shraddha in Ishvara. But the problem is, Shankara is paroksha, unknown. I can't find him anywhere here. I don't know how he operates. I think he operates well, but where, how and where it is, I have no idea. This is called paroksha. So, this is also called Tatpada. In the Tattvamasi, this is called Tatpada. So, in fact, Ishvara is, as I mentioned here, so the very first chapter is called Tattva Viveka. Tattva Viveka. So, Tattva means the personality of Tat is called Tattva. Truth also. But so the Tatpada, in fact, in one of the Upanishads, I forget which one it is, it says Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat iti nirdeshaha brahmanah trividhaha smritaha. Means that if you are looking at the names, direct names of Ishvara, there are three of them. Om, which we are studying in the Mandukya Upanishad, Tat and Sat. Om Tat Sat. So these three are in fact nothing but Shankara. So there are two things involved in the Vishaya. One is Shankara and the other one is Ananda. Ananda is Tvampada. It's you. And why do we say Ananda is you? Because whenever you have the experience of Ananda, it is aparoksha. When you say, for example, in Hindi, Bada Maza Aaya, that was a lot of fun. That was wonderful. You don't, the Maza Aaya, this is not a paroksha vastu. It is you. It's you. And so, the Ananda is never aparoksha. The problem is that the Ananda that I have as an aparoksha is limited. Is limited. Whenever you, in fact, even the statement, that was a lot of fun, immediately describes limitations, because that was, it's no longer fun. So it was limited. So you have some dessert and so on and so forth, it's very nice. You, whenever you go to a party, you immediately say, where is the dessert table? At the end of that, you must have dessert. But how long does the taste of dessert last? 5 minutes. So the Ananda, so look at this. There are two things involved. One is Shankara, which is the bestower of Ananda, source of Ananda, but paroksha. The other one is Ananda, which is me, but aparoksha, but limited. So now, the Vishaya, so listen to this carefully, the Vishaya of this book, of any Vedantic book, is to see that the two are one and the same. This is the identity between Shankara and Ananda. How would you mean by that? It means that the parokshatvam will go with the understanding. The parokshatvam of Shankara will go, leaving only Ananda, and the limitations of Ananda will go, leaving only Ananda. So this is what is called the identity between them. That in fact the parokshatvam of Shankara and the parichinnatvam of limitations of Ananda are an error. It is not looking at the thing correctly. This is the Vishaya. Because one can say, okay, I understand this. This is, I don't quite get it what you're telling me, but I accept it. That you have, and in fact, as you know, the very typically in the very example, Tat Tvamasi is the same as Soyam Devadattaha. Soyam Devadattaha, this is what is called Bhagatyaga Lakshana. That Devadatta that you met 20 years ago is the same Devadatta that you see here. Now he's put on a lot of weight and he's got a beard and he's got a paunch and he doesn't look like anything that you knew before, but it's the same Devadatta. So there the Tatkala Vishaya etc. is removed, that Devadatta is removed, this Devadatta is removed, and an identity between them is created. So this is the Vishaya of this book. This is the Vishaya. And what is the Prayojana? The Prayojana is moksha. Moksha meaning praptasya prapti, the gain of the already gained. Where Ananda is not something that comes and goes, it is recognized to be my own nature, which I don't accept now. At this point in time, I say, what are you talking about? Ananda is not my nature. I can't even know anybody else whose nature is Ananda. That's the problem. We put all these conditions saying, no, that cannot be me, and so on and so forth. But if you examine it, you'll find in the end, the nature of Ananda turns out to be nothing but myself, which is moksha. So the prayojana means what I get out of this is the cessation of trying to be different than what I am. So this is where this was the basic teaching of Swami Dayanandji and all the other acharyas and so on. That what we take ourselves to be is a person who is not happy now, but if I did these things, I'll be happier. So this is all based on my actions in life. So karma becomes primary. Whereas the moksha means an understanding that I am already what I want to be, but I don't understand it. It's called praptasya prapti, natu apraptasya prapti. So this praptasya prapti, in other words, moksha, in fact, the very reason to take a birth and go through the problems of life are not necessary. So that state of my being is called moksha. That is the prayojana of this book. Okay? Then the third one, if you remember, is sambandha. So the sambandha is what is called pratipadaka pratipadya sambandha. Pratipadaka means by the use of language, words, and it's showing that this is the nature of your life. This is called pratipadaka. By pointing out this is exactly what your life is all about, please look into that, please analyze it, please see it the way we see you. It's called pratipadaka. And if you have an understanding close to what the teacher is saying or the teaching is saying, it's called pratipadya. A method of understanding and an understanding. This is what it means. And it comes from words, it comes from teaching. There is nothing to be done, there is something to be understood. So this is the sambandha. Okay, this is called sambandha. Then a few other words were used in the first. Very quickly go over. I want to spend most of the time on the second verse. So we saw, just as a revision, well, first of all, the word guru. So the revision of the word guru is that the guru is your own understanding, clear understanding of the Ashankara, Ananda, and moksha, and all of these kinds of things. Right now you're still learning, but once it starts to sink in, then that becomes your guru. That understanding is the guru. And this person sitting there teaching you is simply a person who's communicating that teaching. That's all. And so there should be, and now we will come to Guru Seva in the second verse, so we'll talk more about Guru, the person sitting in front of you. But at this point in time, the word Guru means knowledge. Knowledge is called Guru. So we saw Guru. Then we saw Padambu Janmane. Ambu Janmana. Ambu means water, and Janmana means the one that is born in the water. Lotus. So Padambu Janmane we saw, and two of them. This will also be repeated in the second verse. Two of them. So the 2 feet are considered to be, first of all, they're considered to be very soft. Soft in the sense that this is a subtle understanding. The subtlety of the understanding is displayed by the lotus, the swarupa of the lotus of the feet of the Guru. Means the stand on which the teaching is given to you. That should be kept in mind. Not the 2 physical feet of the Guru or anything like that. But the basis of the teaching are twofold. And they are very soft. They are as soft as the lotus. And even though they are very soft, they are extremely powerful. So powerful, in fact, that they can swallow. So this is, we didn't read this one last time. Grasaika karmane. Grasa means to swallow, to destroy. Swallow what? Graha. So graha means a crocodile. And the crocodile is used because it is very tough. You need a gun to kill it. A sword also, sword cannot injure a crocodile. Cannot crocodile. And the crocodile also is very dangerous. Here Swami Chinmayananda, I think I may have told you this, he used to tell this story. He said, samsara, our life of living and limitations and family and problems and this, that or the other. So it is kind of like, he said that suppose there is a big flood in the river and it's night time. And you got, your boat got overturned and now you are struggling. You're struggling and you're not a very good swimmer, you're just drowning and it's night time, it's all kinds of problems. And suddenly you see a dark log of wood floating by, and you say, oh, this is so wonderful. I am just, it turned out it was a crocodile. And the crocodile is looking, what a foolish person. I'm looking for somebody and he comes to me. That is just amazing. So he turns around and he grabs him. And now the person says, oops. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Crocodile says, I'm sorry. This is it. You're under my grasp now. So Swamiji used to say that really samsara is like this. You feel that if I can depend upon friends and family and so on and so forth, I will be okay. And once you start discovering that they are not giving you the happiness that you really needed to have, you want to leave them. Too late. You cannot leave them. Leaving is worse. Leaving is worse. Where are you going to go? People will, just like Arjuna also wanted to leave the war. You cannot leave it. So you have to solve the problem right there and then. And the solution is Padambu Janmana, is the lotus feet of the teaching. The lotus feet are 2 in number because of sadhya and sadhana. So one is the pure form of teaching, and the other is the sadhana, the means to knowing. This actually will be expanded in the second verse, so I won't say much more about it. This will all come in more expanded form. So Padambu Janmane. And Savilasa means that along with all its glory and all of its problems and so on and so forth, everything is taken care of. Then we saw the word moha and mahamoha. Moha and mahamoha. So moha means taking something to be other than what it is. It's called moha. And mahamoha is reserved for making an error about yourself. It's a mahamoha. If you make an error about some object here and there, it's not a big deal. Not a big deal. You thought it was, a nice fruit. It turns out to be very sour. You made a mistake, so it's okay. You get a sour mouth, but then you get rid of it and so on. But the non-understanding of the self is the very seed of all problems of life, as we will see clearly. And so this is called mahamoha, which means not an ordinary moha. Why? Because you're stuck with it. You make a mistake about yourself, then you are done for, because now you've made a mistake which permeates all of your actions in life. It's called mahamoha. Eka karmane means the only job. The only job of this person is to remove this mahamoha, which takes care of all the problems and gives me moksha. And finally, the word namaha. With that, the revision of the first verse will be over. Namaha means to give something up. It's called namaha. It means tyaga. Tyaga. And so what I need to do is to give up a sense of reality of the world and a sense of reality about who I think I am, and give it up, because it's not clear to me how I give it up, what I give it up for. All of those things are not yet clear, but this is the meaning of namaha. And so in the beginning, at least, the sense is that I ultimately namaha. So namaha here is not just a physical namaha. It starts with namaha. Here it's interesting, our Hindu greeting, which is so beautiful, is namaste. Namaste. So Swami Dayanand used to say, for one thing, it is wonderful that if there is some bug going around, you don't have to touch anyone. You can just say namaste from a distance. Otherwise, you shake hands and then you have to wash your hands. Everybody, you're sneezing and this, that, or the other. I see this. People get, oh my God, there's so many people sick here. And then they immediately run to the bathroom to wash their hands and so. This is good, namaste. But really the meaning of namaste, just think about it. You know what the meaning of namaste is? For this moment, my attention is on you. I am, because you walk in and you are full of ideas. You know, did I lock my door? Did I do this? And where's dinner? And where's this, that, or the other? And somebody comes up and you say namaste. So you give up all these fascinations and occupations of other ones and just focus in on the individual. So you give something up. It's called namaste. Very beautiful. Anyway, I think we are now done with it. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Presai Graha Grasaika Karmane. So my namaskara to not only the physical Guru but also the concept of one who is through his teaching can really give me complete moksha. This is the meaning of it. So now let's make progress. That was like half hour. Oh my goodness. Next time I won't spend that much time. So let's go to the second verse. You can just repeat after me. Tatpadamburuhadvandva
Tatpadamburuhadvandva
Seva nirmala chetasam
Seva nirmala chetasam
Sukhabodhaya tattvasya
Sukhabodhaya tattvasya
Vivekoyam vidhiyate.
Vivekoyam vidhiyate.
So one more time. Tatpadamburuhadvandva
Tatpadamburuhadvandva
Seva nirmala chetasam
Seva nirmala chetasam
Sukhabodhaya tattvasya
Sukhabodhaya tattvasya
Vivekoyam vidhiyate.
Vivekoyam vidhiyate.
So this verse focuses on the fourth Anubandha Chatushtaya, which is Adhikari. So it means, what is it that you need to do to make sure you are at the level of the teaching? This is the problem. If you are not at the level of teaching, then it won't give you the benefit. It's like having a sixth grader sitting into some kind of a advanced physics class in Berkeley. I always come back to, because I am from Berkeley, so I always give examples to Stanford. Why should I always give examples to Stanford? So it's interesting. So my son went to Berkeley, and my daughter-in-law went to Stanford. And they have two daughters. So there's always a big problem. So what Maya did was, she bought two jackets. One was a Berkeley jacket and one was a Stanford jacket, and he cut them in half and sewed them half and half. And we've got so many pictures of them. Everybody wants to say, where did you get this? She says, I made it. She says, I'm tired of this debate. So both of them are half Stanford and half Berkeley. So anyway, if you are a sixth grader and you are sitting in a class in Berkeley on quantum mechanics, what are you going to get out of it? You're hearing the same words as anybody else, but you are just, it's just not going to really, so the qualifications are very important. What are those qualifications? So here, the key words are Nirmala Chetasam. Nirmala Chetasam, the one whose thinking, whose mind has become nirmala. Nirmala means malarahitaha, whose impurities have been cleaned out. And so we'll discuss, what do you mean by impurities cleaned out? What does that mean? Okay, anyway, so that's the key operative word. He says, Sukhabodhaya tattvasya vivekaha ayam vidhiyate. So this chapter called Tattva Viveka is being presented for the easy understanding of those people who have successfully made their thinking nirmala. Nirmala chetasams sukhabodhaya tattvasya vivekoyam vidhiyate. So it's here Swami Maheshananji makes a commentary on the word sukhabodhaya for the easy understanding. So he himself raises questions an objection in the form of questions. So somebody would say, listen, if I have made my mind nirmala, then why should I study Panchadashi? Because there are lots of Upanishads and Brahma Sutras and so on and so forth. Why don't I just go directly there? Why should I study this? Sukhabodhaya. So Swami Maheshananji himself comments on it. He says, even if your mind is nirmala, to understand Upanishads and Brahma Sutra, you require a lot of staging. You have to find the right teacher who knows Sanskrit. You should know Sanskrit, but if you don't, then the teacher needs to know Sanskrit. Then he needs to have gone through the discipline of study. And he says it's not easy. And even then it's not easy to do. As you know, we're struggling with Mandukya. It's such a subtle subject. And so he says that there is a need to simplify things in a manner that you don't run away from it even after you have improved your mind. So this is the word sukhabodhaya. So there is actually a necessity. This is what happens that in the writing of a new text, its author has to justify why is he or she writing this book. Why? You have to say that this is not available. For these people I am writing, I don't see for these kinds of teaching it's not available. So Swami Vidyaranya's, I think somebody sent me a very good blog, and I think Ashish sent it to me, and I will share it with others. It's a very beautiful blog, where really the simplicity of the language, as you will also see, is understandable without reading Upanishads and so on. So this is called Sukhabodhaya. Anyway, going back to Nirmala Chetasam, Tattvasya Vivekaha Ayam Vidhiyate. I am presenting this Viveka called Tattva Viveka. And now, how does the Nirmala Chetas come about? How does it come about? So there the first part of the first line is Tat Padambu Ruha Dvanda Seva. So we'll spend a lot of time on this today. It means the seva of the 2 feet of the Guru. Seva of the 2 feet, the Guru Seva. Seva of the Guru, particularly in the form of the 2 lotus feet. Again, the same word lotus as before. Very soft, but very powerful. By the seva of the Guru, you remove the impurities of your mind so that your understanding of the subject matter becomes So this is what is called qualification. So just like in the case of quantum mechanics, we can say, first please study mathematics, study arithmetic first, then mathematics, then algebra, then this, then. So here also there is a process. We just we don't go through the process. We feel, oh, yeah, that's too hard. That's too hard. I can't do all of that. Can't you give me some shortcuts so I can get straight away to it? It's just very much like a 12-year-old person saying, can you just give me a shortcut of quantum mechanics? You say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what else to do. You got to learn the basics. That's it. Anyway, so we will now spend the rest of the time today on understanding what is the Nirmala Chetasa means, how Seva can help me in becoming Nirmala Chetas. So, here's the situation. See this clearly. So, the issue here is that a successful teaching occurs in your mind. In the antahkarana. This is where the confusion is, and this is where the removal of the confusion is. My teacher, Swami Dayanand, used to say, you are the problem, you are the solution. You have to recognize, how am I the problem? The whole world is a problem for me. I am okay. You are okay, but not the way you understand yourself to be. So I am the problem, I am the solution. So the teaching and therefore the guru, which is the right gukarastva andhakaro vai rukarastva nivartakaha. The understanding, the knowledge has to happen in my mind. And what needs to happen is that I need to see my reflection in my mind. What the mind is, what my personality is, the whole ahankara, is really my reflection. And as my reflection, it is very close to what I look like. It's not as though that I think of myself as a monster or anything like that. I'm okay, pretty much okay. And so really my understanding of myself, which is the only understanding that I have. See, the mind gives me my understanding. When you say I am, when you say I am very upset, this is very upsetting. I cannot believe this. What it means is that my mind is upset. Oh, I'm so relieved. You look at your mind and you say, there's a sense of relief. So therefore you import that and say, I am relieved. And so whatever happens in the mind, you just conclude, this is me. So therefore the mind is really a reflection of yourself. So what needs to happen is, Nirmala Chetasa means your mind at this point is not accurately reflecting you. Not accurately reflecting. And it's got two basic problems. Why it is not accurately reflecting you. Excuse me. One is that it has some impurities in it. And the other one is that it is moving. Moving. The word vikshepa that you've heard about Vikshepa comes from ship. Ship means to throw. To go from one place to the other is called kshepa. Vikshepa means it just keeps on moving from one thing to the other. There's movement in my mind. So there are two issues. One is that it has got dirt in my mind. So now look upon the mind as a reflecting surface. So look upon this. So the reflecting surface is, supposing the sun is being reflected in a body of water that has two problems. One is that it is dirty. It's got all kinds of impurities growing in it. And the other one is that it's moving. In either case, the sun will not be accurately reflected. Here's Swami Meshanji, that's a beautiful example. He said, and he gave a male example, but I will also give the female version of it. As a Swami, he didn't want to get into the female example. But since I'm a householder, I'm free to do so. I can do both of them. So the male example he gave was that if I'm shaving and I look at the water which is moving, and it must have happened to him because he must be going from place to place, and he just looked at some place. He says, you don't know whether you're cutting the hair properly or not by looking at your reflection. I see there's a friend of mine he's tired of shaving. I said, why don't you just grow a beard? He said, no, I don't like the beard also. But he's so tired of shaving, he leaves all these hair all over the place. You can see him and he says, you can tell this guy was in a big rush. And so if you're looking at a water, you're not able to even shave properly, because for shaving you have to see, okay, every morning I have to look at this and say, why am I spending 5 minutes? Actually, it's interesting. When I was at the ashram, I decided to grow a beard. I have to bring that picture for you sometime. My beard was about this big. And in fact, I should bring it because I would look a lot wiser. You would really, otherwise now you say this guy's flunky, he doesn't even look like a teacher, what is he? But this one would be. No hair on the top, huge beard, it'll look very impressive. But I don't want to go through that. I think that shaving is better. So if the reflecting surface is not accurately reflecting you, you cannot even shave. Now I'll give you the female example. If you're putting lipstick on and you don't have a good clean mirror and you're looking at dirty water which is moving, the chances are you'll put some red over a little bit on this side, a little bit on that side. Somebody will say, what happened to you? Is this a lipstick or are you just... So, it's not accurate. Not accurate. So now we see that what happens is, to listen to this carefully, when Tattvamasi is shown to you, that you and Ishvara are basically one and the same, then we saw that when we want to do the ekata, the aikyam between Shankara and Ananda, remember we saw that before? So in order to do the Ananda for Shankara and Ananda, I have to remove my limitations. That means that Ananda, I have the experience of Ananda, but it disappears because I firmly believe that the Ananda comes to me. It's not me, it comes to me. And what comes to me can also leave me. When in fact, the Ananda, and so really what happens is that the ananda that I am concluding on is the state of my mind. And when I am taught very well that really the ananda that you infer is nothing but a infinite ananda that you are, that your mind is a reflection, but you are free of the impurities of the reflection. Once this is clear to me, then I do not look upon my mind as a reality. My conclusion is this is what is called bimba and pratibimba. So pratibimba is a reflection, bimba is the original. Once the original is seen, then I am convinced that the pratibimba is false. But in order to see that, I have to make the pratibimba as accurate as the bimba. This is called nirmala cetasa. If it doesn't happen, then what happens is that the tattvamasi just remains as words. It does not hit the spot for me because my mind has such impurities that it cannot accurately reflect me. And so it remains as words. Swami Maheshwaraji gave an example. He says, supposing, so he was from Marwar. He was a Marwadi. Generally, you don't find Marwadi people who are but he was from Marwar. Although I think he spent a lot of time in Calcutta. So that's why he gives the examples of rasagullas and so on and so forth from Calcutta. But he again gave the same example from Marwar. So there is a sweet meat called sandesha, which we all have. I think everybody has it. But there is a Marwadi sandesha which is supposed to be the best. It has a combination of sugar and khoya and all those kinds of things and so on. So he says that if you are describing Marwadi sandesh to someone, and you will say, oh my God, first of all, people know what sandesha is. And then you say, sandesha is where the sugar content is a little less than barfi. This is what sandesha is actually. Sandesha is where it is slightly sour, but these are words. These are words. Somebody who's never had sandesha, they are following me and they're believing in me. It's not as though I'm lying or anything like this, but they are just looking at sandesha. And so the sandesha are like words, like tattvamasi is words. Doesn't do anything to you. What you need to do is to eat the sandesha. And then you will say, oh, yes, this is sandesha. It's very unique, it's very subtle, it's very different. So therefore, what Nirmala Chetasam does is makes the vidya aparoksha vidya. So this will come later on in Tattva Viveka later on, so I won't spend much time on it. But this is the need, if you want technical word, it's called Kadapak Sandesha. I'd never heard of that before. Kadapak Sandesha from Marwar. Okay. So now he gives another very beautiful example, really lovely example. I thought this is so beautiful. So what happens is, you see a person coming from far. You see the person coming, and you can tell it's a man from the way they look. But he's so far that you are not able to identify that person. But as the person comes closer, you say, oh, this is my friend Hari. Or if you are a Westerner, you'll say Harry. In either case, here's the situation. Look at this. You saw Hari coming for a minute. He was coming from, walking long distance. So it's not as though you didn't see him. But to correctly identify him as your friend requires some unique conditions. Your eyes must recognize, must see him. You have software in your mind which is functioning. Your memory must be there. Then you can say, aha, this is who that is. So similarly, a mind that is not nirmala, you can hear words and you can see this and you can even say, you can tell your friends, I went to this class in Vedanta. Now I can tell you all about what is Ishvara, what is Jiva. And it is all academic. It really doesn't do anything for you. But it is when the mind becomes a little purer, that's when you recognize that this is not just any person. This is my friend Hari. So similarly here also, you discover that this is, I am the person. My goodness. So this is what in Nirmala Chetasam is necessary. This is qualifications. And so now let's go into the two types of problems with the antakarana. One is impurities and the other one is movement. We already mentioned that. Let's go into each one of them. Impurities are designated by strong likes and dislikes, raga dvesha. This is what Bhagavad Gita is so fond of pointing out. So we will spend a lot of time on this. What does it mean? What do you mean by raga dvesha, and how does that hurt me? It has to be clarified. So as we have studied in some of the other more advanced classes, and I'll just give you a quick definition and then we'll go on. We'll have to do that some other time. What happens is, when your mind is wrapped up in certain likes and dislikes, I don't like this person, and I love that person, that situation. These cars are terrible, those cars are better. Like that, some strong. Your mind is not willing to go beyond what you see and take a subtle stand on things. It's wrapped up. It's wrapped up in the daily parts of life which are not subtle. So it doesn't allow the mind to do introspection as to who am I. Your mind is so outwardly bound with raga and dvesha that it never crosses the boundary towards self-examination. This is the problem with raga dvesha. So this is one aspect of it. And then we will we'll examine it and we will develop it further. Okay, so now the second problem is vikshepa, movement. And here Swami Maheshanji gives a beautiful example. And I think in one of the recent classes I think it was in the Gita class, Swami Dayanandji's had a very similar example to this, so I'll merge them. So there Swami Maheshanji says that supposing you are studying a Vedanta book, you said, okay, I think I'm going to do that. And next to you, there is a lot of noise going on. In fact, television is on. Children are playing, making noises, and this, that, or the other. So in this situation, you do not have raga dvesha. See, that's a different situation. In raga dvesha means that your thinking is rather gross, not subtle enough. You're criticizing someone. And you're not, so that's a separate situation. But in a situation where you are actually sattvic in your thinking, but the external things are not allowing you to really study. Why? Because the TV is on with commercials. There are kids playing, and there is noise of people, and so on and so forth. So now, even though you don't have raga dvesha, you have vikshepa. Vikshepa means your mind cannot really concentrate on the one subject that you're trying to do. And so therefore, the remedies for both of them, again, I think I'll spend maybe 10 minutes because I have much more to teach on this subject matter when it comes to Guru Seva, but I think I'll condense it and then go on. So the remedies for these two are very simple. One is that the disadvantage of raga dvesha has to be clear to you. The advantage is clear to you, but the disadvantage is not clear to you. The advantage is that it feels good to criticize people. It feels good. You feel superior. Look what the dress that person is wearing. How can he do this? What kind of a company is he keeping? So you put that person down to elevate yourself. You feel good about it. But really speaking, you do not realize the disadvantage that you need a person who appears to be lower at a lower status than you in order to appreciate yourself. This is a false appreciation. You should be able to appreciate yourself regardless of somebody is doing good or bad. That is the independence from raga dvesha. So the remedy from that is to understand the viveka of where you are making an error with raga dvesha. Anyway, we'll talk more about that some other time. The remedy for vikshepa is to try to be alone with yourself. Is to try to be by yourself. Because what happens is that even in, there's several things here. So one of them in the Bhagavad Gita is Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Upajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama. So Swami Maheshanji gives this example. He says, you are not in the market for a car. You feel I'm okay. He gives this beautiful example. He says in Delhi, this is a Hindi example, so for those that know Hindi, he'll say in Delhi, and this is in 40, 50 years ago when he was giving the example. A person that does not have a car is called bekar. Either useless. Bekar means useless fellow. So if you don't even have a car, what kind of a person you are? So we've all gone. Now everybody has a car. So he says that supposing you are not so sangat sanjayate kama, you're not in the market for a car. So a friend of yours says, can you please come with me because I'm looking for some cars, and I need some advice. So do you have a free afternoon? So he says, well, I was doing something, but okay, I'll come with you. So you have no idea. Then this fellow starts looking for cars, and it's got some really nice features. Some safety features, some beautiful lanes that does not depart, and so on and so forth. And you never thought about it. You have a nice car which doesn't do it, but you're okay with it. Suddenly you feel, well, maybe I should also get this. I think I can, I've got a little bit payments left, and so on and so forth. Pretty soon that fellow may walk out, but you end up buying a car. So in life, Swamiji says that the more company you keep, which is useless company, the more it engages you. You get involved, you have parties, you have to. This is why I keep telling my wife, I says, please do not accept anybody's invitation. Why? Because then we have to invite them also. She says, yes, that's true. This is an endless process. You waste my time, I waste your time. Both of us are not any better off at the end of that. So slowly in life, this is what the Vanaprastha is. Vanaprastha is that, so this behavior of being yourself is not appropriate when you're a grihastha. Up to the age of 50 or so, when your children are growing up, you better be engaged. You're important. But once the kids have grown up, they've gone to college, and the college, they are not calling you, but you are bothering them. Hey, you haven't called last week. He says, oh, I was very busy. You're always busy. You've forgotten your parents, and so on and so forth. So that fellow, just to please you, has to call you now twice a week. Let them go. The problem is that you don't have your own timetable of what you want to do. So the vikshepa, the remedy for vikshepa is to develop an appreciation. See, the remedy for raga dvesha is also to develop an appreciation for yourself separate from likes and dislikes of the other people. And the remedy for vikshepa is also to appreciate yourself without the company of other people. You cannot really examine your beauty until you give a chance to your mind to examine your beauty. Otherwise, time is wasted. So therefore, and then I think just to speed up this, and this is where the main teaching actually comes in, is that through the seva of the Guru, both of these things are accelerated. This is what is meant by Guru Padambu Guru Padambu Ruhadvandva Seva. Here Dvandva means the twofold. Seva, twofold. And very quickly, the two sevas are sadhana and sadhya. Same thing as we talked in the first verse. So sadhana means developing the right kind of thinking with the help of the teaching. So the perfect example of that is in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 5th. Amanitvam adambhitvam ahimsa kshantir arjavam Acharyopasanam Shaucham. Those are the sadhanas. That is the Guru Seva. Guru Seva means taking it seriously. Yes, Swami Maheshanji also says that the student says, that's it? Just by doing Guru Seva, my Chetas will become Nirmala? He says, yes, that's it. That's all you have to do. He says, oh, then I can do that. Swami Maheshanji says, it is not that easy. So the teacher will say, he is given this example, I don't at least do all these kinds of things to you. He says the Guru living in an ashram will say, by the way, I do a puja. This is a brand new person who has just come in. And he says, okay, I'm ready for the seva for you. He says, okay, this is your duty. I have to do puja at 4 a.m. And for that, I need to take a bath in warm water. So you need to be here at 2:30 and warm up the water for me, or 3 o'clock. So he says, oh my God, what am I? So when do I go to sleep? He says, I don't know. It's up to you. Take a nap in the afternoon, whatever it is. And I don't care. So he says, Guru Seva is not easy. So what I would tell you is, Guru Seva means, please attend classes regularly. Listen carefully. Look at your notes before you come to the next class regularly. Have the right attitude towards the teaching. Have some Shraddha. Develop some respect for the teaching and the teacher. I find people who will say Vijay ji or something, and I also find people say Vijay, and it doesn't bother me, but I can tell this person has not taken to me to be as a teacher, just as another person. Just like my friends will say, hi Vijay. But a student needs to have a certain respect, certain shraddha, certain regularity of learning. This is the Guru Seva. This is the Guru Seva. And if I ask you to please do this, then please try to do it. This is Guru Seva. And the two parts of the Guru Seva is the sadhana, which is adambhitvam aham sakshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham atma vinigraha. So read that section in the Bhagavad Gita. It's very beautiful, 13th chapter. The second one is, if you do that, you are ready for Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. And that is sadhya. So that is the two parts of Guru Seva. One is sadhana seva and the other one is sadhya seva. And so both of them can be made real by, both of them will make your chetas nirmala. So the Guru Seva means that the devotion to teaching. So I'll just end with that really speaking, Swami Dayananji also used to say that if you look upon Vedanta as one of many other things that you are doing, this is not Nirmala Chetasam. It becomes academic. I play bridge in the afternoon, golf on Saturday mornings. And by the way, on Monday nights, there's some interesting class. I'm attending those. And then I don't have time to study yet, but I think it's going to happen. you don't make this as a priority in your life, then the malas of life, which are full of ragadveshas, and also the vikshepa, will not go away. Will not go away. So that's the essence of the second verse, and we will go over that a little bit more time next week, and then we'll be finished with the second verse. Om asato ma satkamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya vidyot ma amritam gamaya. Om purnamadah purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavashishyate. Om shanti shanti shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So now an update to the texts. There's several things to talk about. So one is that we have placed the order for the Swami Swahananda's book with the Motilal Banarsi Das, and I would imagine it'll be here in about a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
Next Thursday.
Will be here next Thursday? I thought they're shipping it on Thursday.
They'll ship this Thursday.
So they'll ship it, but it will take time for it to come.
Yeah. So supposedly
Anyway, it will be here.
he says if the custom does not hold it
Okay.
for longer, we'll have it within 7 days.
Oh, good. Anyway, so it'll be here. So that's number one. The second thing is that I just printed 20 copies of Tattva Bodha. So you can please, as you on your way out, those of you that need it, we have plenty of copies. I have another 5 or 6 at home. So we have plenty of copies of Tattva Bodha. And my message to people who are not here is that please send me an email if you need Tattva Bodha, and then we will ship it to you. Please make sure that you give us your mailing address, your street address, and we'll ship it to you. So Tattva Bodha we have enough of. Okay, so that's done. Then, as far as the Panchadashi book from Swami Maheshananji is concerned, the 4 volumes, this is the first of the 4 volumes. It only comes, we are only going to study the first chapter, but you cannot break it up though. You have to buy all 4 of them. It's $40. And this, by the way, I think is like $8 or so. The printer has not given me a price, but it's something like that. So just $8. Then Panchadashi, which is $40. So we have 8 copies. And those are for, I just took the names down as you wrote me, Kuldeep, Jugal, Sudha, Virendrana, Ashwin Nayak. I think there is a friend of his here. He says he lives in Berkeley. You can give it to, so if you want to take one for him, then please give that to him. Ravi Gupta, he's from Walnut Creek. He's not here tonight. So for him, Shankar Narsiman. Then Atul Srivastava from Sacramento. So I'll ship him a copy or something. It's pretty heavy. I don't know how. We'll have to see how he can get it. And so those are the 8 books. Subroto was late, number 9. And so Subroto, what I would say is, anyway, so for the people's names that I have said, I have it in